Hello again, everyone. It is 1 p.m. Oregon time, I do believe. We are going to give people a few more minutes to filter in. I know it's people just coming off of lunch on a Friday, so we may have people hopping in here a little bit late. We're going to give a little more time before we get started. Thank you for your patience. I'll be talking to you soon. Thank you for your patience, everyone. We're going to give everyone just another minute or two to hop in, and then we'll begin.
Reed, pardon me, I believe you may be muted.
Oh my goodness, I have been muted this entire time. I apologize for that. Can everyone hear me now? Okay.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Wonderful. I'm going to start all that over again. My apologies for that. Um, Hello, everyone, and welcome. We do have a couple of housekeeping items before we begin today. First of all, you may have noticed you have all joined in on mute. However, we do have our chat channel open in the webinar. If you have any questions that come up over the course of the training, feel free to ask in that channel. We do have a couple of Agate software team members, as well as a representative from ODAV available to answer your questions. We will have a brief Q&A, or we will have as long as of a Q&A session as we need at the end of the presentation to ask questions there or to review questions that came up over the course of the webinar. Here in a couple of weeks, your organizations will receive a recording of today's webinar, as well as a Q&A document listing all of the questions and answers which came up during the chat of today's webinar. You'll also be receiving a survey requesting feedback for how you believe the training went today. We encourage you to go ahead and fill that out and give us your honest responses so we can continue to improve our training offerings here. Now, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started with today's training webinar. Let me get my screen shared really quickly here. And here we go. Welcome to the Grantee training webinar for the IGX Grant Management System for the Oregon Department of Aviation, or ODAV. In this webinar, we will introduce you to the new grants management platform and walk you through a typical grant application process using the new web portal. Now, let's quickly review the few tech requirements IGX has. The IGX grants management platform can be accessed using most devices, including tablets and smartphones, so long as they have an internet connection. IGX supports the four most commonly used browsers: Microsoft Edge, Google Chrome, Firefox, and Safari. IGX can also generate certain reports and documents for your organization to download and save. Many documents will be created in a PDF format, while certain data exports will be saved in a spreadsheet format. Most modern browsers support reading PDFs by default. However, if you require the use of Adobe Acrobat DC to read these PDFs, you can download that at www.adobe.com. Any spreadsheets can be opened using Microsoft Excel, Google Sheets, or similar third-party spreadsheet software. Should additional technical assistance be needed, the Agate Software Help Desk team is available to assist grantees like you in overcoming technical hurdles. Some example services include login assistance, document initiation and navigation, and explanations on what you can see and interact with inside the portal. To contact our help desk by phone, dial 1-866-449-1425. To contact us by email, message azhelpdesk@agatesoftware.com, and our help desk team will assist you as soon as possible. Now, let's review some important information about the new web portal, which will be opening up soon. The old web portal will go offline Monday, August 7th. And the new IGX web portal we're showing off today will come online Monday, August 14th. The address for the web portal is unchanged: www.odae-grants.com. I'll go ahead and paste that link into chat if you do not have it already. There we go. Your user login information is going to be ported over from the old system. So your user logins and information should be unchanged from before. Now that all of that is out of the way, let's go ahead and get introduced to the IGX platform. Okay. Here we go. This is our example IGX login page, which looks similar to what you will see on the ODAV website. This is a demonstration site, so some elements of the layout or design you see may look different slightly than you will see on the live site. As mentioned before, your user accounts have been ported over from the old site, so if you already had a login, it should still work just as before. If you have login troubles or you forgot your username or password, you can click the Forgot Username Password link underneath the login panel. Let me zoom in here so that's a little more clear. You can click the Forgot Username Password link down below. Here, you can enter your email address as well as your account's username, and then click Email to be sent a password reset link. If you've forgotten your login username as well, you can click the Forgot Username link here, enter your email address, and you'll be sent a reminder of your login name to that email. Now let's navigate back to the login page by clicking Login here. Also at the top left of the login page, there is a Public Reports drop-down available. This feature will let you view certain publicly available information about grants and applications which have gone through ODAV. Let's look at a public report page here. Here you can filter your search based on program, such as CORE, SOAR, or ROAR, year, organization name, etc. Once you have entered some search criteria, for example, let's search for ROAR applications here. You will see what publicly available information is available for the grant applications meeting those criteria. If you can't access your grants from here, now you cannot access your grants from here or find any additional information than what is visible here. This is just to view information that is freely accessible to everyone. Let's return to our login page again and see how to log in. We already have a test account set up for this training website, so let me go ahead and log in. Enter our username and password here and click Login. Now, this is a demonstration account, so it may have more permissions than a normal account or the account which you will be using. So you may see certain options or links visible here that you won't see on your account. That's okay. That just means that the role that you've been assigned is not expected to use those permissions. You're now looking at the user dashboard for IGX. There are a few different options here for you to be aware of, such as the My Tasks panel. This is where you can work on existing documents and applications. You have the My Opportunities panel, where you can begin new applications. And finally, there is an Announcements panel here, which shows important messages or notifications from ODAV. If for some reason when you log in, your account does not see these panels on your dashboard, you can add them by clicking your username at the top right and selecting Edit Dashboard here from the drop-down. You can then click Add Panel and then select the panel you wish to add, such as if I wanted to add a larger My Opportunities panel. Clicking Save here would then add that panel to the dashboard. Let me go ahead and delete that though, because I won't actually need it. Once you've made the changes you want to your dashboard here, click Save at the top right to save those changes. Let's take a look at the other icons available at the top of the page. The Help icon here, the question mark, will bring up contact information for help desk services. The half circle icon here enables a high contrast mode for users with accessibility concerns. At the top left, you will see a list of menu items and drop-downs to select. The home link will always be visible on every page. Clicking it will always return you to the user dashboard where we currently are. The searches drop-down gives you various tools to search for applications, RFRs, progress reports, or other documents, which we'll review later. Now, one quick note about the searches and the My Tasks panel. In these menus and at various points on the website and during this training, you may see the website or myself refer to documents. Documents are just the group of forms and information tied to a specific submission. So when you hear document, you can think of a specific application or a specific RFR or MPR. Now, before we begin working through applications, let's take a look at managing your account and organization through your user profile. Click your name at the top right and select Profile from the drop-down list. Here on your personal profile page, you'll be able to view and change some of your personal information, such as a name or contact phone number. You can also change your password here by scrolling down and clicking Edit Password and entering a new password into the 2 confirm password fields here. Once you've made any changes to your account, click Save at the top right to save the changes you've made. You can also view your organization's information by clicking on Organization Information on the left side navigation. Most users will only be able to view this information. However, program managers will have the ability to edit the data on this page. If some information here needs to be changed, speak to your program manager or an ODAV representative. You can also view members of your organization by clicking on Organization Members on the left side navigation column. On this page, you'll see a list of users which have been created in your organization. You can use the Members search panel here to search for users by their name, by their role, or by their active or inactive status. Program managers in your organization will also be able to add new organization members in this panel by clicking the plus sign here and selecting Add New User to Organization. Here, you can enter the new user's information, name, title, etc. Be sure to enter a correct, valid email address for the user, as that is how they will be communicated to that their account has been created. When creating a new user, you will need to assign them specific roles, at least one role within your organization. For example, if this new user were a Grantee Finance user, you would be able to select Grantee Finance from this role dropdown. I'm not sure why it is not appearing for me right now, but normally you would see a list of roles that your account would be able to be assigned. You would also be able to set an active or inactive date for those roles here. If a user needed to have multiple roles for some reason, you can add additional roles to that user by clicking the plus sign right here or the minus sign to remove those roles. Be sure to give the new user a secure username and unique password, and then click Save at the bottom right. The users will then be notified by email of their account creation. Okay, now we've just looked at how to add a new member here. Let's see, one second. Okay, here we go. Sorry about the technical problem there. Now, one thing I do need to let you be aware of, user accounts cannot be completely deleted once they are created. However, if a user leaves your organization or changes roles, you can set the account or role as inactive. Again, this is for project managers only. Here in the user's information, the project managers would be able to see active and inactive dates for their users. If a user no longer needs a role, the project manager would be able to set their inactive date to today, or to a future date when that role would be removed. When all roles have been set to inactive for a user, that account becomes inactive and that user will no longer be able to log in. Now, once you have made any changes to this or another member's page, be sure to click Save at the top right to save those changes. Now, while we've been reviewing these profiles, you may have noticed this red dot by your account name. This indicates that you have received new messages about your applications. Click on your account name and click Messages to open your inbox. Some status messages, such as those sent from Grant System, may be automatically sent to you as your grant application goes through an approval process. If a document message is sent from another user, such as an ODAV official, you can click on the mail icon here to view the message. And you can also reply as needed by clicking the reply button here on the message panel. Now that we're more familiar with our profile and messages section, let's return to the dashboard by clicking Home at the top left. Remember, clicking Home from any page will return you to the dashboard. Now, in this webinar, we're going to be filling out a demonstration application for the core program. Now, I'd like to stress that the actual processes you're used to, whether it's core, SOAR, or ROAR, are unchanged. You'll still be entering the same information and filling out the same forms you have been using before. They just may look slightly different in the new system. So the focus on this webinar will be on using the new IGX platform and its features instead of seeing specifics about any one application process. If you do have specific questions about your application process itself, feel free to ask those questions during the Q&A session at the end of the webinar. Now, beginning a new grant application, core, ROAR, or SOAR, is done in the My Opportunities panel here on the dashboard. You can see a list of grant opportunities and applications available to your user and organization. By clicking on an opportunities link, such as this one, you'll be given a more detailed description of this grant opportunity. To begin the application, simply click Agree. Congratulations, you have now begun to file your first new grant application with ODAV. The document landing page, which is always the first page you'll see when you open a new document, provides some important information about your application. Some of the more important pieces of information here include the document status, which tells you what status the document is in the application process, the period and due dates, which can show you important dates as when these applications need to be completed, and the document name, or the document identifier, which is what you will search for when looking for your applications. On the left side navigation menu, you'll see various options under the Forms heading and the Tools subheadings, as well, if we scroll down, as status options and related documents. The forms at the top left are the forms you will need to fill out to apply for this grant, which you should be familiar with already. The items under Tools are various document management tools you have at your disposal. We'll be covering these in other sections later. Now, because this application has many forms to fill out, I've prepared an application for review, which already has some of this information filled in. If we click on the Searches tab at the top left, we can select Applications, Progress Reports, or Reimbursement Documents, depending on what type of document we want to find. A Recent Documents section here also brings up a list of applications or reports you've recently looked at. For now, let's use the search tool to search for an application. From this search page, you have several criteria you can use to search for an application you have created or submitted. For example, we could search by a name or identifier, by the type of application, in this case, a core application, by the document status, or by your organization or account name. Once you've entered search criteria, you can click on Search to see a list of matching documents. We could then select from this list the document which we wanted to edit and click here, be brought directly to that application. There we go. Now, another way to find applications is by using the My Tasks panel on the dashboard. Let's return to the dashboard here. On this panel, here in My Tasks, you will see a list of applications which need your attention, such as those which have not yet been submitted. You can select a document directly from the My Tasks list, or you can use a filter to narrow down the documents you can see. Let's search only for applications in process using this filter. Now, by applying that filter, I only see applications in process in my task list. Now, this is the document that I know I started earlier but didn't finish filling out. So let's click on this name here to go complete this application. All right. In our application document in process, we can see on the left-hand navigation the status on some of our forms. Forms with a check mark, such as this, have been filled out and saved with no errors, while forms without any data yet will be left unchecked. Now, see this exclamation point next to the General Project Information form? This tells me that the form has been filled out, but there were some errors in the information or that something was missing. Let's go to that form to check it out. We can do that by simply clicking on the form name here. Now, as you can see here, we have some information such as organization name and address, which the system has automatically pulled into the form. For example, the account I'm using for this demonstration is the Agate Software organization, and information such as this organization's address has been automatically filled in by the system. Other fields will require you to input data yourselves. Any field, button, drop-down, or anything else that has a red asterisk next to it is a required field that will need to be filled out. Now, this general project information form should look similar to the core forms you have filled out before. They just have a new look in the new system. See the attention panel at the top right of the screen? This gives you details on what types of errors are in your document that will need to be corrected before you submit the application. Usually this will mean that certain required fields are still blank, or that some calculations may give an undesired result. I'm told here that I forgot to input a project start and end date into my application. Now, I can click on this error text and be taken directly to the fields which require attention. And it does look that indeed my project start and end dates have been left blank. To input these dates, I can click on the calendar field and select a date manually on the calendar that appears. You also have the option to manually type in a date. Just make sure to include the slashes to separate months, days, and years. Next, it looks like I forgot to select a radio button, which is required. This is a good chance to see how a form handles dependencies, which means how forms can react and change based on what you enter. This line says, does the project eliminate current deficiencies? Currently, it's unchecked. However, if I select yes here, it now prompts me for an explanation, which will now be required for me to fill out. However, if I click no, because no explanation is required, the input text area vanishes. Many radio buttons throughout the new core, roar, and soar forms behave in this way. Whenever a selection makes a new data field appear, such as this, that new field is usually required. Let's go ahead and enter some information here and save our form. Whenever you need to save your document, whenever you've made changes to the form, you want to make sure they're saved. Click Save at the top right whenever you've made these changes to save them. If you try to navigate away from the form without saving, then your changes may not stay. Next, it looks like our budget form may have some errors as well. As well as one thing we do notice here is that by changing information on this form, notifications have appeared on other forms for us to review. Let's click on some of these forms and see what needs to change, if anything. Okay, so it looks like by making a change on the first form, it just wants me to look at and review this form. I see that nothing needs changed, so let me do the same thing for the statewide impact form. Again, nothing needs changed, so let's go back and review that budget form now. This is a good chance to show how the system will automatically run some calculations for various budget entries. Let's first look at the funding breakdown here. Right now, it looks like the AIP grant and the match requirement are equal to each other, and I see that each contributes 50% to the project cost. If this were to change, say if the grant amount increased, and I saved this change, you can see the percentage in this column automatically changes to reflect the new data and ratio. Now I see from my attention panel, I have an error regarding the source of match funds. We must have at least one funds match listed. Let's enter a funding match that would have our product cost equal the budget summary as intended. And I should need to add, if I have done my math correctly, 10,000. Okay, if there are multiple funding matches, you can click on the plus sign next to the row here to add additional funding rows. Whenever you see a plus sign next to a row like this in any form, clicking on it will allow you to enter multiple types of data into those rows. For instance, in this case, if you have multiple matches. Okay, now that I have entered some information, I see that my calculation has not updated yet, but when I click Save, the total match funds has automatically updated to the new correct amount. All of the other information on this page has been updated to reflect the new amounts as well. Now that we've looked at our budget form and seen how some calculations can automatically run, let's take a look at the miscellaneous uploads form here. Some grant applications will require you to upload additional documentation, which you can do using this form here. Let's select a project name, and then we'll upload some additional information, maybe a staff roster. Whenever you have an upload file such as this, you can simply click the Select button and find the file you need to upload. Double-click the file or select the file and click Open. I'll double-click here. You'll be able to upload document files like Word or PDF documents or images and screenshots saved on your computer. I see a message here that says my file has been uploaded successfully, but I'll still need to save my changes at the top right here by clicking Save. Now that I've uploaded a file and I have saved it, I now see it listed here in the file repository below. I can access that file to review it by clicking this link here. Or if I needed to delete it, I can select the Delete checkbox here and click Save at the top right to remove that upload. Okay, now that we've looked at and saved our various forms and we've seen how to navigate and input information into these forms, let's take a look at some of the useful tools we'll find in the left side navigation under the Tools subheading. The landing page link here returns you to the document landing page, where you can see some of those important document details we saw before. The document validation link here is a useful link that will detect and summarize issues or errors with your form. If there are any errors on your forms, this tool will tell you exactly where they are located. You also have the ability to print out a completed form using the Print Document tool here. You could select to include any form. You can click to, or you can just choose to select specific forms to print out. You can also select to include blank copies of specific forms in your printout. For this test, let's make a printout of the general project information form. I'm going to select it in the Include column and click Print. Now the system will create a PDF printout of the document or the form that we've selected. This could take a few seconds or a minute or so, depending on how complex the form is or how much information was entered. Now it does look like a PDF document has been uploaded here. I click on it. Sure enough, this printout does contain all the information we had filled out in these forms. Now let's go ahead and close this window out. There we go. And let's close out of the Print Document tool. There are also additional communications tools available here in the Tools subheading. Let's take a look at the Notes tool, which lets you see messages that a program manager or an ODAV official may have left on a specific form. This exclamation point here means that this document has a new unread note. By clicking on Notes, I now see a list of messages that have been sent to these specific forms. This is one place where you can check for any notes or communications about your applications. Finally, let's take a look at the Document Messages tool. As the name implies, these are messages that have been sent specifically regarding this application. I know I have an unread message here thanks to the mail envelope icon here. Document messages sent directly to you will appear in your messages inbox, like we saw before, but we can also view document messages in this tool. To see messages, you must first click on the tool and search through the inbox. This will bring up a list of document messages attached to this document. You can click on the envelope icon here to view the message. Depending on your permissions, you may be able to send messages as well. Those messages can only be sent to people who have been working on this application already. To send a new document message, click the plus sign at the top right. Select the recipient or recipients here, and then click Next. Here, you can enter a subject and a body for your message, just like you were sending an email. Once you've typed out and completed your message, you can select Finish, and the document message will be sent. Now that we've reviewed some of our tools, I think everything is ready to go. We've filled out our forms and files have been uploaded, so let's look at the left side navigation and look at the Status Options menu. Here we see a list of options on how to proceed with this application. Currently, we have options to cancel our application or to submit it. Let's submit this application by clicking Submit Application and finish this application process. We see the agreement application for the submission process and have a final chance to include any additional notes that we wish to. Once we've included any last notes regarding the status change, we can click OK. And here we go. We are now taken back to our document landing page, and as we see in the document status, the document has now been submitted and has gone to internal review. Congratulations, this document, this application is now in the hands of ODAV. Now let's return to our dashboard to continue looking at a few other different documents and applications. Back on your dashboard, you may have noticed that we have an application here that has a status of modifications requested. ODAV may choose to ask for modifications to your application before they approve it. It looks like this happened to one of our submitted applications, so let's go in and see how to modify an application. Let's filter and look specifically for documents with modifications required. And I just have one document in that status. Let's click on here to view it. Now, hopefully, messages will have been communicated to you about what needs to change in your application in order for it to be approved. This would be a good place to check out document messages or notes attached to this application to see if there are any notes from your program manager or from an ODAV official about what needs to change. You could then go into any one of these forms that needs modification and make edits as needed. Once edits have been made, you would click Save at the top right, just as you would when filling out the form to begin with. Once the modifications have been made and you are ready to resubmit the form, scroll down to Status Options again and click the option Submit Modifications. Now we have the option to resubmit our document. Let's click OK and resubmit our application for review. We're taken back to the landing page and we see that the application is in internal review again. So now that we've made our changes, ODAV will re-review them and proceed as necessary. Now let's return to our dashboard. Now, as you may be aware, approval isn't the end of the grant process. Your organization will still need to provide additional sub-documents for your grant. These include progress reports, or MPRs, which will be created automatically on the first of the month after your application reaches the application executed status. Requests for reimbursements, or RFRs, will need to be created by authorized representatives as needed. There are a couple of different ways to do this. This Initiate Related Documents button here will let you create an RFR to an executed application in your My Tasks list. If I filter down here, Status Application Executed, I see that I do have a couple of documents ready for RFRs to be created. When I click on this button here, I am presented with a drop-down list that lets me select which document I wish to begin an RFR for, as well as a list of available documents to create if there happen to be multiple types of RFRs created in the future. Now, I can create an RFR directly from here by clicking Create. However, let's take another route and let's create the RFR from within the application itself. Let me click on this Grant Ready for RFR, which we see here, and create an RFR in here. Now, if I scroll to the bottom left, just as we did before, we now see the same Initiate Related Documents button here. If I click on this button, it will automatically give me a chance to begin a request for reimbursement. If I click on Agree, that RFR form will be created. Now, working with MPRs, RFRs, and other subdocuments is the same as with our application documents. So everything we've learned about navigation, entering information, and the tools we have will work here, just like our normal applications. To access other documents related to an application or a RFR, if we scroll down on the left side navigation, under Related Documents, I now see a link to the application that this RFR is related to. I can click on that link and go to the original application. Here in this original application, if I scroll down again, I now see a request for reimbursement form. And when I click on here, I would see a list for any RFRs or other MPRs that are already associated with this application. This lets you basically tab between documents that are related to each other that are all tied to the same application really easily. Let's return to our dashboard for one last look. And we see here in My Tasks, we created that RFR a moment ago, and we now see it listed here in the My Tasks window. RFRs and MPRs, just like your applications, will appear in this My Tasks list whenever they need attention, such as they need to be filled out or modifications have been requested for them. Now, with that, we have completed our tour of the IGX Grants Management Platform. We're going to proceed to a question and answer section next, but before we do that, let's check in with our experts. We have Brian here from Agate Software and Andrea from ODAV. Do you have any comments you'd like to add before we get on to questions?
Thank you, Reed. I don't have anything specific right now, but of course, all of our grantees, you can also always reach out to Alex or I if you have any questions once this new system goes up. We'll be happy to help you out as well.
Okay, thank you very much. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry, Reed. Thank you so much for doing this. Everybody, just want to introduce myself. My name is Brian. I oversee this project. Yeah, as Andrea mentioned, no concerns or questions for me right now, Reed. But if anything, you're always more than welcome to reach out to our help desk line, either through the phone or via email. Thank you.
Excellent. Now we're going to leave chat open for a couple minutes here. Now that we've gone through the webinar, please let us know if you have any questions. We'd love a chance to answer any questions or help you out now. Well, okay, I don't see any questions coming in right now. In the future, if you do have any questions that weren't asked in this webinar, or if anything comes up that you're unsure about, you'd like some clarifications on, Andrea is a great person to contact to help you out with the system or answer any questions that may come up later. For now, let me go ahead and stop sharing here. We have reached the end of today's webinar session. Now, as a reminder, in a couple of weeks here, your organizations will be receiving a recording of today's webinar. If we receive any additional questions and answers later, you'll receive a document with those questions and answers, which will help with anything that was discussed here in the chat today or in the webinar. Here later today, you'll also be receiving a survey asking about the webinar experience. Please, we encourage you to fill that out and tell us your honest opinions about how the training went. This will help us improve the training offerings we have in the future. For now, thank you so much for attending. I wish everyone the best of luck in your future projects. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thank you, Reed. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.